Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tanya June Moore here with the Sedona International Film Festival. Thank you, Black Magic Camera, Suddenlink, the beautiful Sedona Rouge, and Sedona Media Services for sponsoring the Media Room this year. And I get to be here with another awesome filmmaker, Ryan Kalaki with Yasuni Man.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for making this movie, because this is something I think people are going to want to, like, at least have knowledge of.
Yeah.
So let's dig in. What's it about?
Yasuni is the world's single most biodiverse forest in the Ecuadorian Amazon. And inside of it live Ecuador's last remaining clans that live in voluntary isolation, and they aggressively defend their territory from outsiders. And below it is Ecuador's largest untapped oil reserve, so it's a film about the conflict between biodiversity, human rights, and natural resource exploitation.
And you even mentioned when we were chatting that there's also some InterTribal War that's going on, so they're also fighting amongst themselves.
They are, yeah.
And what are those fights about?
Everything. That's a pretty deep, long question. There's a lot of it stems from the contact that was created back in the 1950s, but this is something that's technically been going on for millennia. It's just a different way of life for the people in this region, and it's something that they've actually lived with for quite some time. I would just recommend to fully answer that question for people to come to the film to see it, because it's pretty involved. Yeah. Okay.
And on top of that, I mean, you know, because we would like to think that they would all band together to protect their, I mean, I'm an idealist, right? Let's all band together, let's protect this land, we don't want people coming in on us. Yet, they're in their own war and fighting outsiders.
Yep.
And they can't even see that they're, like, the unity would help.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could see all of the people of the Amazon come together for the same cause, but that's really hard to do. You know, look at the global situation right now. You know, people are pretty divided. It would be nice if we could see it not only happen in the Amazon but across the world, if people are really coming together for the common good.
You know, do you feel like it is a difficult task? But I think in the age of technology, as we are in today, we're a lot. I mean, do you feel that maybe we're more connected than we've ever been, and maybe that could happen?
I think we are more connected, but you know, I think there's a lot of dangers too of the connectivity that we see. You know, and all the stuff that's been happening on social media. You know, Facebook, of fake news that we're seeing. There's a lot of manipulation going on, so.
But that's something that's probably always happened, right?
Yeah, it probably is.
So yeah, and I think that this country has been through the same sort of dilemma. You know, we have our own natives here that have stood their ground as best they could.
Yep.
And this is the time and told tale over and over again of what's happening. And the resources in that area are vast, which is why people want to go there. Correct?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a very similar story to what you saw in the United States, you know, of all of our tribal nations here. The people of Yasuni, they're also Native Americans, Native South Americans, and they're fighting a very similar battle as to what was fought here. And, you know, our tribal people here in North America are still fighting to defend their culture and their communities and their people, as well as their land and their resources. So that's a very interesting parallel between these two regions, and you know, this is still happening today, not only in the Americas, but this is a global story as well. You see these similar advances into Native people's territories across the planet. And Yasuni is a great microcosm of all these major issues that you see globally.
And nobody's talking about it.
Very few people are talking about it, and you know, part of that is because it is so isolated, and it's also very dangerous to go in. And the Ecuadorian economy is built around oil, so you're kind of in this conundrum of, you know, how do you not exploit your natural resources, specifically petroleum in Ecuador, because about 40% of their GDP comes from petroleum production. And as we continue in the future, you know, oil is a finite resource, and eventually your oil days come to an end, and Ecuador is now they're going to be having to answer those questions. But a lot of this influence, though, the biggest influencers in this entire region are Americans and our use of natural resources. We're one of the first countries to go in there to exploit the oil in this region. So we have a whole lot to do with it. And also approximately 70% of the oil that is coming out of the Ecuadorian Amazon comes to the United States, specifically California. So you can see where that goes.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a circle here. And were you welcomed when you went there? Did you feel like, okay, I can have a conversation, or, you know, this is
Absolutely.
really afraid?
The Warani people that I lived with were extremely welcoming. They asked me to come there. They're lovely people. I created deep bonds with many of them, and you'll see in the movie, you know, a lot of people think that native peoples or, you know, people not of your same race are different than you, and they're really not. There's
Right.
many more things that we have in common with them than you would expect. And when you see the movie, you know, that's, I think a lot of people that come away from the movie is they're like, wow, you know, I've experienced all this in my own family, and I didn't experience that in the middle of the Amazon. I don't want to tell you exactly what those things are, because I hope that people will come
Watch
to
the
the film
movie.
and actually see that. But yeah, we have so much more in common than what our differences are. I'm a wildlife biologist and filmmaker. This is Atobo Baiwa. He invited me to visit his family and document his home, where his ancestors have lived for generations. They are caught between two worlds, where the new world is rapidly consuming the old. We hoped that we could make a difference and help save Yasuni. I think that everybody in this world has so much more in common, regardless of the conflicts that we're experiencing, that, you know,
We're all connected.
We're all connected,
We're all
absolutely.
interconnected. There
Yeah.
is no distance between you and I.
Yeah, and not only that, we're also interconnected with this planet Earth as well, and all
Absolutely.
of the living beings that are on it. And you know, I think that you know, without a healthy planet, without healthy wildlife, without healthy human beings,
We're in trouble.
We're in trouble, and there's a lot of issues going on right now that clearly need to be addressed, because I think we are kind of, you know, as many people believe too, that we're slipping down a slippery slope right now.
I want to see if anybody out here has a question. Please.
Looking back, do you feel that acting as the writer, director, producer, cinematographer, boom operator, you know, music department, was that something that helped you get your vision across more easily, or was it more of a challenge you had to overcome just to get the film done?
It was definitely much more of a challenge. I don't think anybody would want to say that they want to write, produce, direct. I mean, you have to be a complete egomaniac to do that. Unfortunately, this was a independently funded project. We raised some money from Kickstarter and a couple other small contributors to the film, but the main investment was my own. And you know, the film is graphic in its nature. And it's really hard. It was really hard to find, you know, the financial investment that it needed. So when you can't find that financial support, you are really left in a situation where, well, if you don't do it, you know, nobody's going to do it. And it was. I took on all those roles more or less out of necessity and things that I thought that I could do competently. There's other things. I did have, you know, a wonderful associate producer. I did have two people that helped on part of the shoot with the audio. I had a wonderful crew who did the majority of the score, as well as I had an absolutely fantastic editor. And those are the things that I didn't want to fill myself. I knew that I couldn't do them competently, but writing, producing, directing, narrating, you know, I played a little bit of the music, and, you know, I did all of the development and managed the whole post-production, and have now been the independent promoter of the film. So it's exhausting, but hopefully, you know, at the end of the day, that all the effort pays off, and it has, you know.
Right.
Being at a place like Sedona International Film Festival is such an honor, as well as all the other film festivals and that we've been able to attend. So.
And where can they find your movie online, or can be connected to it?
So you can find us, our trailer is on Vimeo and YouTube, and you can just type in Yasuni Man official trailer 2018. I also have two websites. One is the website for the film, which is yasuniman.com, and you can also go to my company's webpage, which is polywogproductions.net, and it's got a direct link to Yasuni Man on that as well.
Perfect.
And if you just Google Yasuni Man, just about everything comes up with me. We've been covered by lots of amazing media outlets such as The Guardian, Missoulian, Jane Goodall Institute.
Oh, wonderful.
We've got a lot of wonderful support. So this movie wouldn't have made it to where it is without the support of lots of people.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing what it's going to be like after you have been screened here and what your reception is.